Hello, my name is Shrika Hutasa, and welcome to Raindrop, short but information-packed videos on Hope of Games' Risk of Rain 2. The Preon Accumulator charges up an orb of damage, doing 8,000% damage on the initial explosion and 40% damage as tendrils that zap nearby enemies. This item description is actually wrong in vanilla Risk of Rain 2.
The Preon Accumulator is going to be a fairly popular equipment because it has such a large burst. Despite what the description says, it actually deals 8,000% damage with its burst. Though it does have sweet spot falloff, which means it's only dealing 2,000% outside of half of its radius. This is made up for with its absolutely whopping 20-meter radius, the same as a ukulele. The projectile itself will also periodically fire out homing tendrils within a 35-meter radius that deal 400% each. The tendrils themselves are able to be fired 20 times per second at different targets, though each target can only be hit 3 times per second. That means that if we just get 1 second's worth of tendrils in a direct hit on a single target, we've got a total of 9,200% damage. With the 140-second cooldown, that makes it about 66% per second. For comparison, another popular equipment, the Royal Capacitor, deals about 150% per second. So the Preon Accumulator is not going to be beating it unless it's got that AoE. If it's got somewhere like 2 to 3 targets, or if you're able to get more value out of those tendrils, then it can definitely deal more. So as long as you're using your Preon smart, it's definitely worth your time. Another thing to consider is that since this is the absolute largest hit that you can get out of an equipment, this has the best synergy with things like crowbar or things like bands. A single crowbar will make the major hit deal 14,000%, and Runald's band will deal 20,000% by itself on top of the 8,000% hit that triggers it. This is a massive amount of damage, though something you have to be careful of is the tendrils stealing your crowbar or bands, since they deal enough to trigger bands by themselves. A good way to counter this is with a technique a few in the community have called Preon hugging. A Preon hug is where you get absolutely point blank to whatever you want to shoot while firing the Preon Accumulator. This means that no tendrils are able to fire, so you do lose that AoE, but in exchange for a few ticks of 400%, you gain a whopping 20,000% band proc with just a single green item.
Covering this equipment actually brings up a pretty big part of the game. Because you can get this on Guaranteed on Rally Point Delta, some players will opt to rush the teleporters to pick one up. This is actually not the best idea, as taking the extra time to acquire as many items as possible is the most consistent way of playing the game. The more items you have, the more synergies become available. As long as you aren't just standing around doing nothing, you will not be outscaled. This equipment is best in slot when you really need a high damage band proc for enemies like Mithrix or the Twisted Scavengers. As mentioned before, you really want to hug your opponent for the maximum value. This is the second highest band proc in the game behind max damage head stompers, so keep that in mind. Thank you for joining us for another Raindrop. These are uploaded every other day, and we plan on covering every item, survivor, monster, interactable, and stage in the future. Links to the Risk of Rain 2 Lab Discord and my Twitch channel in the description.